The two of them set off down the hill, and you could just hear Bartholomew saying to Brian, "I did tell you about layers." When they were disappearing out of sight, the song started up again. People often ask us, where do you come from? So we tell them, Yorkshire, Yorkshire, Yorkshire. Nice lads, I'll check their website out, said Camo, pressing his watch timer to start. Let's go! We're well off schedule now. Camo immediately set off walking up the last of the hill, and JT had to hurry to catch him. Eventually they arrived at the top, where there was a white-painted stone trig point marker. Camo took his map and compass out. JT walked over to the solid white stone. It was cold to the touch. A swarm of black flies surrounded him. Ugh, horrible flies. Yeah, they seem to congregate there. They must know fell walkers go to it, and they sit and wait for a nice juicy meal. You can't hang about, or they will be all over you. Ugh, said JT, trying to shoo them away. I think waving your arms about attracts more. Camo put his compass and folded map away. Yeah, that's all tickety-boo. Next one. We trot across the top here, and then go left off that spur there. JT looked across to where he was pointing. There were some hikers sticking to the tops coming towards the trig points they were at, and then the ground dropped away sharply and then rose up equally sharply to another fell, a little bigger than the one they were on. There was a whole series of green fells spreading off into the distance. That one there, said JT. Yeah. How many are we doing? Probably about 3 in all, said Camo. Bloody hell. They set off jogging towards the hikers. Hello, said Camo, going past them. Hi, I'm the slow one at the back, said JT to the first two, and they laughed. There was another 3 a little behind. Morning, said Camo. Morning, they said back. He's trying to kill me, said JT with a serious face as he passed them. They laughed loudly. JT jogged on. It's half true, he thought. After a short trot, Camo turned left to drop off the hilltop and into the deep valley below. JT followed behind. The grass and heather of the hill was a lovely round shape that disappeared gradually and then sharply into an abyss and then rose up again to another lovely round hump of a green hill. JT looked to the right and then back again. You mean we're going down and then back up to the top, when we could just go that way and be at the top without having to go up and down? Camo gave him a look of utter disgust. Of course, but that wouldn't get your height training in, would it? Come on, little trot. It was asked as a question, but he had already started running. JT started running after him, trying to speak and not break his ankles at the same time. You mean you get to the top and immediately start running? Like I said, you're on the flat and the downhill bits. If it's not too steep, you trot the ups as well. The hill started to curve down and disappear. Are you sure we're not running to our own death here? It looks like it just drops off. Ha ha, Camo laughed. It looks like that from here, but it's not that steep when you get there. It is steep, but it's runnable. Camo started to stretch away in front of him again. I'd better not let him get too far ahead or I might lose him, thought JT. Go the wrong way and disappear over the edge. How on earth does he run so fast downhill? The ground went from smooth grass into uneven ground. It was strange kinds of mounds of grass and ruts, with scattered clumps of heather. It was difficult to place your feet while running. You had to look very accurately where your feet was just about to go, but also glance where the next one would go after that, and also you had to risk looking up and taking a view of where your route was. It was a help to have Camo to follow. At times the gap between the heather and grasses was quite deep, and he had to run in an awkward fashion with a half turn of his hip so that he could drag his leg up and out. He had a few near misses with bad ground, and then he took a step where the ground was not flat the way it was supposed to be, but at an oblique angle, and his ankle turned over, and he yelped as he had a flash of immediate pain. He was going downhill and could not stop. Everything happened in slow motion. As his ankle turned, he had time to wonder if it would hold. He thought it was gone, but then it held his weight, and his motion was taking him over to the next step, and he had to concentrate on that. A wave of nausea started, and he fought to concentrate. Now his stride was moving around to his bad ankle, and he braced himself for agony and for it collapsing, but it landed firm and he took off again with a little sharp wincing pain. The nausea feeling dissipated, and he ran on with his ankle feeling a little tight, as if it was already beginning to swell, but it was okay. He knew it would have a flash of bruising in the morning, but that it was not a bad ankle turner. The main worry was that it was weaker now, and he would have to try and nurse and protect it. "Are you okay?" shouted Camo without looking back, because he had to watch his footing too. "My ankle went over," he shouted back. "How is it?" "It's a second stager," shouted JT. "Worse than it going over and nothing. A bit of that nausea feeling. But not the third stager. You know, where it knocks you completely sick and you know it's going to balloon up. And not the fourth stager, where it actually breaks." "Ha ha!" laughed Camo. "I hate those nausea ones. You should run on the baby's heads like I do." "Baby's heads?" said JT. "What are you on about?" Camo stopped running and waited for JT to catch him up. "See these little mounds of grass?" he said, pointing at round tufts of grass. "You put your foot on these and run on them. You don't put your foot into the gaps between them. You kind of glide across the tops. In the army, we used to call them baby's heads. See how they kind of look like the back of a baby's head?" "So, you run on baby's heads in the army?" said JT. "Ah, that's right. You run gentle though. You kind of hop from one to another. You don't stomp on them or nothing." "That's all right then." Camo set off down the hill without another word. JT tried the baby's heads thing. He found there was different types of clumps. When it was a firm baby's head, that was okay to step on. But at other times they were not firm or stable, and you had to go into the ground between instead. Who knew it was so complicated, he thought. It's tiring having to concentrate so hard on every step. When you're running on the road, you can just run and not worry. They made their way inexorably down, JT aware that every step further down also meant another to get up on the other side. "You're right," he shouted to Camo. "You can't look at any of the views. If you take your eyes off where you're going to go, to land, for a look, you will break your ankle and face plant." Camo laughed. "Running downhill is hard work, but in a different way than going uphill," shouted JT. "Going uphill is tiring, but this is pounding my legs. I'm braking all the time and using my muscles more than going uphill. I thought I would be saving energy going downhill, an easy trot down. But if you don't brake, you will fly off and snap your neck." Camo laughed. "I know. You just have to let yourself go." They were coming to a steeper section, and Camo whooped and laughed and shot down fast. "Woohoo!" "No bloody chance," shouted JT. "I want to get back alive to my family." "Ha ha, you will," shouted Camo, moving further away from him. JT tried to go faster, but he just couldn't do it. His legs were breaking hard to stop his every step. Smash, smash, smash. Further down the hill, his legs were getting tight and sore in strange places. "This actually hurts," he shouted. "My leg bones are actually jamming up into the sockets of my hip bones." "Ah!" Camo laughed again. "You describe everything so vividly." "He's laughing every time I describe suffering," thought JT. "I think he enjoys suffering. He actually wants to suffer. He's enjoying this and it's agony. Must be his sadistic army training. JT's legs suddenly seized up for a moment. He was stood on a tiny flat outcrop, rubbing his leg, trying to get them alive again. Ah! He shouted at the pain. This is agony! Camo laughed. Ah! He was at the bottom of the steep valley near the stream. JT could feel what felt like 2 guitar strings running up the outside of his legs, past his knee area, pulling tight and taut. What the hell is that? He set off down the last section to the stream and could feel them every time he took a jarring step. He had a quick glance around. They could have been anywhere deep in the wilderness. There was no sign of any building or any human being anywhere. My God, if those guitar wires give up, I'm screwed. I'm not getting out of here. Camo was at the stream at the bottom, looking for a place to jump across. So JT started to catch up to him. Eventually he reached the bottom and looked up at the looming hill, one in front and one behind. Oh God, let me get out of here and back to my family, please. Please let my legs hold out. He rubbed his legs all around to try to loosen them and went to stretch. The tendons creaked and he stopped stretching, not wanting them to pop. JT turned and looked back up the hill they had just come down. Look how high we were. We came down there quick. A lot quicker than going up, but I can't believe how hard it is on the legs coming down. It feels like I've got 2 taut guitar strings on the outside of my legs near the knee. That will be your ACLs, said Camo. Footballers injure those. You don't want that. What can you do to stop it? You need to get your thumb in and press where it hurts. It will hurt like crazy, but it will stretch it out. I don't like the sound of that, said JT. I'm not doing that here. They might snap. I'll wait until after. They will gradually toughen up over time. Your body will get used to it and adapt. I hope so. No bloody help to me today, though. I hope they hold out until we get back to the car. Well, you've no choice now. You're deep in it. It's just as far and as high to go back as it is to go forward. Great. So if your legs went, there's no way out? You could just follow the stream, he pointed, and eventually you will get to civilization, but that will be about 6 miles of fairly rough, flattish walking. JT looked at where the stream was going between the hills, but the view was blocked by more hills. Camo jumped the stream. Okay, up we go. JT went to the same place and jumped across. His ankle was okay, but the guitar strings at the outside of his legs twanged as he landed. That's not good, he thought. Camo was already steadily walking up in the zigzag fashion the steep hill. JT went across and started too. This is much better, much safer. I can feel those tight ACLs, but there is no impact hitting them like downhill that they have to cope with. After 30 seconds on climbing, his mind was back to complaining about the difficulty of going uphill. You can feel the energy and pain dribbling out of you, he shouted up. Yeah, said Camo simply. He was concentrating and off in his own world. Camo made it to the top a good long time before JT. JT kept looking up at him sat there and tried not to curse. He tried to keep a steady pace and not come to a stop without him looking. Bastard, he thought. Eventually he came up to the flatter top and strode towards Camo, hoping he wouldn't set off running immediately. You're doing really well. Doesn't seem like it, said JT, but he was pleased with the compliment. No, you are. You're making a lot of progress and quickly too. Right, said Camo. It's a little trot across this top, and then we've just got one last up to do. Camo started trotting and JT followed. They went into a little hollow, and there was a small tent sheltering from the wind. Wild camping, said Camo. I love that. As they neared the tent, the flap opened, and out came the bearded male occupant. The beard was the only thing that he was wearing. He was naked from top to toe. "Thought I heard someone. Hello, fellas. Beautiful day for a run out," he said, stretching out his arms. "Yeah," said Camo and JT together, looking anywhere else apart from at him. "Where are you off to then?" he said. "That big one over there," said Camo, pointing. "Oh, Big Bertha," said the naked camper. "That's a tough one, that. Mind how you go." Yeah, thanks," said Camo. "Thanks," said JT. They did not stop and carried on running past. "Have a good run," he shouted after them. "Yeah, good day to you," said Camo. "Morning," said JT. "See you next time," said the naked camper, going back into the tent. When they were a little away, JT turned to Camo. "Is that legal?" "No idea, but I'm not stopping to ask." "No," said JT. "Right, last one," said Camo. "Get your mind right, this is the biggest yet. We've just got that last one big one to climb, then a long, mainly downhill jog back to the car and you've done it." JT looked across at the looming hill. It was a wider valley down to this than the last one. The hill was more rugged at the top than the ones that they had been on. It's like the boulders had outgrown the green grass. This one had more jagged and rocky top poking out from the grassy lower parts. "Just a word of warning," said Camo. "This is a longer one up than the last. I hate the last section. It's one long boring plod up. I don't know why, but I always have a down feeling going up that section. It goes once you get to the top and start down again though." "Right," said JT apprehensively. "OK, let's go," said Camo, setting off again. JT was used to him just setting off straight away now. He started running down, gradually at first. He could feel the tight ACLs complaining. It was rugged at the start, then steeper and grassy, and then it flattened out to a wider valley than the previous steep one. Camo was ahead, just coming to the end of the steep section that JT was just about to start. The grass was lovely green and eaten smooth by sheep, like a snooker table. It reminded him of the grass on the bowling green all the retired people used in the park near his house when he was a kid. He had run across it a few times, feeling guilty, dreaming of being allowed to play football on it. There was a flock of sheep, and at the sight of the two runners they came galloping towards them. "We're under attack!" shouted JT. There was a lot of them. They were quite big, and they had curled horns. "Are we actually all right here?" he shouted to Camo. "We'll be okay. They think we are the farmer come to feed 'em. When they figure out we've got no food, they'll be off." The sheep kept on running towards Camo, racing each other to make sure they got fed first. Camo started shouting and waving his arms. They kept on at first, and then one or two started to stop, and then gradually they all stopped. "Ha ha! Go on! Ha ha!" shouted Camo. The sheep started to run the other way, scattered a bit, and then came back together as they headed further off the hillside. JT carried on down the hill. He realised that he was complaining out loud with each step. He hadn't even noticed at first. "Ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh." JT started talking to his legs. "Come on now, you're doing great. Just hold on there. One last hill," he says. "Keep strong." He stopped trying to catch up to Camo and nursed his legs down the hill at his own pace. With each step he could feel the ACLs bowing, then catch his weight. It was nerve-jangling each time, each step, wondering if they were going to give away. Camo was at the bottom. It was a wider stream than the last, and he walked up and down the bank, looking for a place to get across. Good,
thought JT. That'll give me time to catch up a bit. Camo found a place with rocks in the stream he could step on and use them to get across. JT went to the same place. The rocks were wet and slippy. When he went across, his foot went in and he hopped quickly out. "The water is freezing," he said. Camo ignored what he said.
"Yes, it was about here," he said. "It might even be this exact patch of grass."
"What?" said JT.
"See this reed grass?"
said Camo. He was holding a stem of the grass in his hand. He pulled it hard and eventually it snapped. The grass was a thick, very long green tube that taped to a sharp point at the end. "Yeah?" said JT.
"See how pointed it is at the end?"
"Yes."
"Well, about 6 weeks ago I came here with Peter Gabriel, the runner, and I jumped across at this point and landed on my hands and knees, and a blade of grass just like this went in my eye. It hit my eye and went right round the back of the eyeball. I was sat there wondering if I was going to go blind. I got my nerve up and slowly pulled the stalk of grass out. It came out slowly like this." He pulled the blade of grass slowly between his fingers and thumb to demonstrate. JT felt sick to his stomach and pulled a face. "Ugh, what happened?" "Well, I couldn't see out of the eye. Everything was white, pure white," said Camo.
JT shivered.
"Ugh. I had to make it back to the car from here and drive to hospital with it like that, seeing with just one eye."
"Is it okay now?" said JT.
"Yeah, I saw an eye specialist. He looked at it and said the grass had hit my eye and gone all the way around, just missing the optic nerve at the back."
He held the grass up near his eye how it had been.
"He said if it had cut that, I'd be blind."
"But you can see out of it now," said JT. "It's back to normal. They didn't have to do anything."
"It was white for a few days and then it came back. He just gave me some eye drops and that was it,"
said Camo.
"Ha ha ha."
Camo laughed a deep laugh.
"A blade of grass just like that," he said,
holding it up and looking at the point. "I feel sick," said JT. "This is supposed to get you fit and healthy, not make you blind. Bloody hell."
"Ha!"
Camo laughed his deep laugh again.
"Yep, that's my story."
He turned and started walking up the hill. JT quickly followed Camo through a section of tall ferns, and then they broke out to a nice pathway and green grass. It was a long climb but not steep, and JT felt good and was keeping up with Camo. Camo got his gel out to take for energy for the last hill. JT got out a sandwich and ate while walking. "Oh, this is nice," thought JT. "This must be my second wind." They began to climb in height. JT turned and looked at the green wall of the fell behind they had just come down. "Gosh," said JT, "imagine being here, where we are now as ancient Britons, and the Romans appear over the top of that hill, and they set off after you. Imagine having to run for your lives in these conditions, knowing if they caught you, they would kill you, torture you, make you a slave. You could see them coming and everything, all the time getting closer. Imagine if you had your wives and kids with you, trying to run but knowing that at some point they were going to catch up with you."
"I thought it was just me who thought things like that,"
said Camo.
"Yeah, you'd be screwed."
"Imagine all the near misses each of our ancestors would have had going back over time," said JT. "It's really a miracle we're here." They chatted away until it started getting steeper. Camo pushed on in front.
"You can always tell when it gets tougher," said
Camo over his shoulder.
"Everyone goes quiet."
"Yeah, I noticed," said JT, shouting after him. "You were in the army. Can we not have some of those marching songs to boost our morale?"
"You what? That's the American army," said Camo. "In the British army you have to be silent. If you speak, the sergeant would punch you in the mouth. A few of those and you soon learn. It's right though. In the jungle, if you make a noise, you'll be dead.
And so would your mates. So you actually do right by your mate by giving him a smack if he makes noise. Oh, said JT. I guess we are running silent then. The pathway curved up and around.
Hey up,
said Camo, nudging him. JT looked up to see a man standing just off the path. It was a slightly portly chap with a tweed jacket and hat. He was leaning on a long, shiny wooden walking stick.
Gamekeeper,
said Camo.
No shotgun though.
JT felt the presence of someone out here was out of place. He also felt, strangely, that it undermined his own performance. Perhaps this is not so remote after all, he thought.
How do,
said the gamekeeper.
Beautiful day for it,
said Camo, passing him. Aye, grand, yes it is. Mind how you go. These hills can be tricky.
Thanks, you too.
Camo and JT carried on up the hill, watched by the gamekeeper. When they had gone some distance, the gamekeeper shook his head. Bloody fell runners, he said. The middle section of the hill gradually became steeper and rockier. Eventually the pathway changed from one long cut ribbon to higgledy-piggledy steps in the dirt where people had created them by stepping over and over into them. JT stopped for a second and put his sleeve to his brow to soak off some of the sweat. It's like climbing the stairs to bed when you're exhausted, he shouted.
Ha
laughed Camo. I don't know if it's because I'm so tired or because I've got little legs, but the gap between the steps is bigger than suits me. I can't get a nice rhythm going at all.
You're probably just tired. Keep going. Not much further to the top, but the section I don't like is coming up now. I'm going to push on to get through it.
JT had the last of his juice. He shook the dregs in the bottom hopefully, even though it was a clear bottle and he could see that there was nothing in. He had another drink in the car that he wished he had brought with him. He was looking forward to it. I hope he isn't kidding and there's not another hill after this. I think this is my limit. If there's another, I'm screwed.
Come on, nearly there,
shouted Camo, stamping his feet down and pushing his legs hard.
Oh, I can taste strawberries, shouted JT. Where did that come from? I suddenly had a proper taste of strawberries in my mouth.
Camo stopped and turned to look at him and laughed.
It's your body craving sugars. It's your body telling you to eat something because you've been burning all this energy.
Right, isn't the mind and body connection weird? I can actually taste them, smell them. Oh, a lovely big bowl of strawberries and vanilla ice cream with thick double cream poured over the top for good measure. Oh God, I can taste it.
Ah, I dream of a big bacon and egg butty and a pint pot mug of steaming tea, said Camo. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to have when I get back.
Don't forget, bread and sugar are poison, according to Yorkshire there.
Sod that,
said Camo.
No one's stopping me have a bacon and egg butty.
Camo turned and carried on up the endless fell. In front was a stone alcove and the pathway curved around it. Camo disappeared from view around it. JT eventually made it around the corner and found Camo waiting for him on the green slope. Oh, that's nice him waiting for me, thought JT. Camo waited for him to get near him.
See these holes?
Said Camo, kicking at one with his foot. Yeah, said JT. There was a small lozenge-shaped hole in a vertical section of the hill.
Adders,
said Camo. You what?
Adders.
What? Adders, said JT. Poisonous snakes, adders?
Yeah.
Are you taking the mick?
No. Adders,
said Camo.
Bugger off. No, there's adders out here.
You're kidding.
No, he laughed. Honestly, adders.
Now you tell me, said JT. Christ alive. Something else to worry about. If you don't break your ankle, get blinded by killer grass, or get savaged by a flock of sheep, the poisonous snakes will get you. Ha ha! Camo laughed.
You'll be all right. Just watch your step. Don't put your legs near any holes. And don't pick up anything that looks like a snake. It's remote out here, so the chances of someone getting you the antivenom in time would be slim. And if you try to walk it out, because your heart rate is so high, it will send the poison around your body really quick. And it will be even more faster acting. So if you're bit, you're a goner, really.
Oh, great. Adders, said JT. What about sucking the poison out?
No, that's a myth, really,
said Camo.
If you are bit, the poison's in your bloodstream already. There's no sucking it out.
Fantastic. Don't forget to tell my wife and kids I love them, will you?
Ha ha ha!
Laughed Camo.
Right, this is a section I don't like. Just keep plodding and you will eventually get out. See you at the top.
Camo set off striding away in front of him. JT looked up to see what it was that Camo did not like. It was steep, but he could not see why it was so bad any more than anywhere else. Camo had pressed on to get up it, obviously not finding it easy himself. JT plodded on and on. He found his second wind had gone. Halfway up, he felt it was kind of depressing, like Camo said. The ground was a vertical, shallow bowl, so there was nothing else to see left or right, except the giant ditch you were in. There was nothing to occupy your mind on the ground. It was kind of an ugly, scruffy, muddy brown. The steps had petered out, and it was just ruts from a farmer's quad bike that were uncomfortable and unsteady to walk on. It was not nice underfoot. In front was the worst. Just more of the same, up, and then the hill curves off into who knows where. Was it the top? Another false top? A false top? Camo was nearing the top and out of the bowl. JT took a moment to look behind him. There were beautiful green hills, and at their sight he instantly felt better. Wow, who knew your surroundings could do that to you so quick, he thought. He could see the two hills he had already been up below. Feeling better, he turned back to the trudge climb. Camo was now at the top looking down at him. Oh, I could just fall asleep right here, he said out loud to himself. Those ruts look lovely and comfortable. If I could just have 10 minutes. Feel drained, a bit sickly, skin sticky. Really tired now. This really is awful now. Not sure I'm going to make it. Just go into survival mode. Trudge. How long before I'm home? Don't think about that. Don't think of home. If I survive, I'm never going back and doing this again. Never. Why bring me here? God, get me back safely off this bloody mountain and back to my house and my family. The last section with Camo watching him seemed to take forever, and then it hurried and he was coming up next to him. When he arrived, Camo got up off his haunches. There was a bit of a breeze, and JT realised Camo had been crouching to keep warm out of the breeze. Sorry you had to wait in the wind, he said.
No, don't worry. You're doing great. The Big Dipper is over there,
said Camo with a great reverence, pointing out further over the fells.
It's steeper than anything we've done. You'll love it. Fancy it? We could do that before going back if you want.
Are you bloody kidding me? Thought JT. No thanks, you're all right, he said. We can save that for next time, if you don't mind. Camo looked at his watch.
You're probably right. Probably best timing-wise.
Thank God for that, thought JT.
Right, you've done the hills now,
said Camo.
Apart from a few minor ups on the way back. Just a long trot to the car now.
How long?
About 2.5 miles. Should take about 20 minutes or so.
They were high up on the fells, and there was a snippet of words, that came to them on the breeze, and they both turned and looked down the valley, and the conversation blew away. "Sounds like someone else on the hills."
"No," said
Camo.
"they'll be miles away down the valley. The conditions would have been just right for that split second to funnel their voices up the valley."
"Wow, you're kidding?"
"No, sometimes you could hear them as if they stood right by your side," he said. "Come on, let's go."
Camo started running.
"Little Trot!"
If he says Little Trot one more time, thought JT, and set off after him, his stiff legs creaking and making him wince. 2.5 bloody miles still to go. I'm not going to be able to run. My legs are too stiff. They will either not be able to move, or if they do, they're going to suddenly snap. Camo set off running, then stopped and rubbed his foot.
"Oh, hot spot between me toes," he said. "That's going to blister. Bloody marathon socks are supposed to stop that."
"I wear these merino wool socks," said JT. "Since I've started wearing these, I've not had any trouble with blisters, but it might just be that my feet have toughened up. They're from the local sports shop and really good value."
"How much are they?"
said Camo. "I think I paid £11 for 2 pair, said JT.
"Nah,"
said Camo, shaking his head.
"These are £25 a pair. I'll stick with these."
JT looked confused. "But these don't blister," he said.
"They would with my feet,"
said Camo. "Might be worth experimenting with them," said JT, "at that price."
"Nah,"
said Camo.
"I'll stick with these."
Camo started running and did not look back, and JT had to push himself faster, all the while looking where he was placing his feet. "If I could get you on the mat in martial arts and see how you like it," he thought, "you would quickly tire and be exhausted and want to tap out, and I would say, 'No, you have to fight on, and on, and on.' How would you like that? 'No, you can't tap out. Come on, just a little longer. Just a bit more.' Little Trot indeed. How would you like that? 'What, you're tired and you want to rest? No, so sorry, can't do that.' What would we have done if I broke my ankle deep down in that valley, or been bit by one of those bloody adders? What then? Did you ask if I had enough to drink? Any food? Or a first aid pack? No, nothing." They ran on and gradually picked up speed. "He wants to get back to the car in a hurry," thought JT. "Okay, get your mind right for this. Just trudge on. Get into survival mode. Watch every step. Time will just go, and eventually you'll be back at the car." There was a section of hill that they walked up. He was stiff, but he did not mind now. He recognised it as the first hill that they had come up. There was the white stone trig marker at the top. He felt a smile on his face and wiped it off. "You've not made it yet," he thought.
"Last long run down now,"
said Camo.
"We will go the long winding route, not the straight down one. It's actually quicker."
"Okay," said JT. They went past the white trig marker without stopping, and Camo started to run fast. JT shook his head, hoping his legs would hold up, and went after him. On the path down there were about 8 wild, small horses. "Oh, they look lovely. Wild horses. Just how they should be, able to roam free." Camo pulled up to a slow trot and waited for him to catch up. "Nice wild horses," said JT.
"Yeah, they're wild,"
said Camo.
"You have to watch out for them. They are quite territorial and they'll bite you. If one of them kicks you, you'll die."
"Bloody hell, even the pretty horses are out to get you. What kind of place is this?"
"Ha ha ha,"
Camo laughed. "How do we get past? They're on the path in our way. Should we shoo them away like you did with the sheep?"
"No chance. That might spook 'em. Just take it easy and we'll go round 'em. Don't look them in the eye. If one goes for you, there's no way you'll outrun them."
"What do you do if one comes running for you? Do you run zigzagged?" said JT.
"No, that's for bears, isn't it? Or is it crocodiles?
What do you do then? Said JT.
Run!
You just said you couldn't outrun them. Camo shrugged. He went higher on the hill off the main path and headed for going round them. JT started to follow. He tried to think of a strategy to protect himself if they went for him. He thought of sitting down on the ground and kicking out with his feet. He pictured it in his mind and thought he looked too much like a dying fly. I'll just have to shout at them, run and hope for the best, he thought.
Remember, don't spook 'em!
What about them spooking me? Whispered JT. For Christ's sake, everything is out to get you out here. The hills up and down, the flies, adders, cuddly cute horses. Even the grass wants to blind you. Ha ha! Camo laughed.
Shh! He said. We're coming to the worst point!
Camo went past level with them. JT looked at the horses. A couple were looking at him. They looked fit and tough and ready to spring. Oh no, I looked one in the eye, he whispered. Camo started laughing.
Don't make me laugh,
he said, trying to whisper but not doing a good job of it. It was JT's turn to go past and be level with them. He felt his body tense, but nothing happened, and then they were both past. When he thought they were a safe distance away, JT looked back. The horses were just stood around eating grass. One was looking at him. JT felt sure the horse was thinking, what a pair of idiots. Camo waited for him to catch up.
Come on, last stretch.
Further down the path, in front of them, was a man in a tweed jacket and hat stood propped up on a walking stick.
Hang on a minute,
said Camo.
Isn't that the Gamekeeper we saw back there?
Looks like it, but it can't be, said JT. They ran down.
Didn't we see you back?
Hang on a more. Git, he said, shooing away some sheep.
Yan, Jan, tether, mether, pip. Here's our says acca contra dick. Yanna dick, tanna dick, tether dick, mether dick, bum fit. Yanna bum, tanna bum, tether bum, mether bum, jig it. All done. What can I do for you?
What is it that you're doing? Said JT.
It's counting sheep,
said Camo.
Yeah, you know Cumbrian then, lad?
Well, not really, no. I've heard that, but I've heard it's slightly different, like Yan, Jan, Tether, Mether, Pimp, Sether, Leather, Hover, Dover, Dick, Yanna Dick, Janna Dick, Tether, Dick, Mether, Dick, Bumfit, Yanna Bumfit, Tiana Bumfit, Tiether, Bumfit, Mether, Bumfit, Giggert.
Ah, that's over at Valley, lad, into the village. Foreigners like.
Oh, right. Well, didn't we see you back there?
Yeah, that was me. Not my twin brother that I don't have, ha ha.
How did you get here so quick?
It helps if you're not fells like I do, but mainly it helps if you're not going up and down the hills like you two idiots, but stick to the same level and walk around them. Do you not see the pass? You keep cutting through.
I suppose so,
said Camo.
But we need to get the height in for training.
Oh, aye, like right you are then. By the way, you haven't seen a portrait about on your travels, have you?
No,
said Camo. Don't think so, said JT. Sorry, just that naked rambler and you. That's the only people we've seen out here.
Right-o. Mind how you go.
Thanks. You too, said JT.
See you later,
said Camo. Camo set off down the long winding path. He built his speed up faster and faster. JT thought his legs would not manage it, but he was going faster and faster too. Legs, you lied to me, thought JT. You can run. You do have energy left. What the hell? My own legs lying to me. How does that work? He could feel the tight ACLs and his ankle a little swollen, and he had a fuzzy-headed tiredness. Concentrate, concentrate, concentrate. Don't get injured now. He was near the bottom of the hill now, near where they had first gone up. Don't celebrate yet. Don't celebrate yet. You're not at the car yet. You can't have survived all that and fall at the last. Camo was in front and they came off the hill onto the path. Algy was still hanging about. JT went flying past him.
What do you think of?
Algy started. Sorry, Algy, I can't stop, said JT. If I do, I might not get my legs going again.
Right you are. See you next time,
he shouted after him. JT was concentrating hard on his legs. He felt if he did not keep a stern watch on them, they would just buckle on him. He came out onto the street they had come in on and risked a quick look up at the hill, now to his left. It looked huge. I was not just up that, he thought, and then, oh my God, I see the car. I see the car! He sped on. It's no use you showing off now, he said to his legs. Where did all this come from? You've been holding out on me. Camo was looking at his watch at the car as he came up and slowed to a stop. Made it, he said, with a big expel of air and smile on his face. Hang on, said Camo. We've done 7.85 miles. We need to make it up to 8. Come on, we'll just run on a little until we've done. Without waiting for his agreement, Camo set off back up the road they had just come down on. You've got to be kidding me, thought JT. It never ends. I think he's trying to break me. Maybe he's trying to kill me. God, will this never be over? JT reluctantly set off after him. Oh, ah, he said to himself. I know, sorry legs, I thought it was over too. They trotted up the road and turned onto the path, leading back up to the hill. We're only going to make it 8 mile, aren't we? Shouted JT, suddenly fearful he was going to take him up again. Yeah, ha ha! They were heading towards Algy.
You're not going back up, he said.
No, Algy, just got to make it around 8 mile, said Camo.
Oh, right, all right. Of course. I've been up and back more than twice.
Yes, Algy, said Camo. Right, we'll turn here, shouted Camo to JT. That should do it. Camo headed past him and JT ran on to past Algy and do the same as Camo.
Well done, son,
said Algy. JT smiled and tried his previous joke again. I think he's trying to kill me, he said and nodded at Camo.
He's not, is he?
Said Algy, backing away.
What shall we do? We'll have to call the police. Do you have a mobile phone?
Oh my God, he took it serious, thought JT. No, Algy, I was only joking about him making me run so hard.
Oh,
said Algy.
Are you sure?
Yes, Algy, I promise. I was just making a joke.
Okay, all good. I like Camo. I don't want him to go to prison.
He's not going to prison, Algy, said JT. I was just making a joke.
Oh, yes, of course.
So we don't need to call the police because that would be wrong.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go now, Algy, said JT. I'll see you next time.
Righto,
he said cheerily. I think he's got it now, thought JT. Better get out of here. He started to run back to the car, muttering to himself, Don't make jokes with Algy. Don't make jokes with Algy. Going down the road, he could see the car again. Right, this time this is it. I am not going past the car, even if it says 7.99 miles. Camo looked at his watch. Are we done? Said JT, holding his breath. 8.1 mile done and 4,000 feet of climb. That's in the bag now. We can chalk that up to the weekly total. Marvellous, said JT. Thank God for that. So good to be back at the car. This is the only good feeling, the one when the torture is finally over. Ha ha! Camo started to laugh. Everything else is just so hard. Uphill, downhill, even the flat is hard. Welcome to Bell Running, said Camo. Thanks. You smashed it, lad. He was changing his soaking wet top at the open car door. JT had not brought a change of clothing. "No, you don't smash the hills. They are always there. You just have to survive them," said JT. "Let's get on to our families and a nice bath. Oh, I've got that drink in the car." He opened the door and took out the bottle. He drank most of it straight down and then remembered Camo. "Want some?" "No thanks. I've got some left." JT looked up at the hill. "Oh my God, that was amazing. Did you see how steep those hills were? How steep were they? I never expected it to be like that." Camo laughed. "Ah, you've got the bug now. I can see it. Wait till you do the Big Dipper. I'll take you that next time." "Bloody hell. Adders, biting horses," said JT. "What else is there?" "We were lucky with the weather," said Camo. "You had it clear with good views. 9 times out of 10 it's not like that. It's either pissing down with rain, covered in clag, or snowing. You need a better rain top, or when the rain comes down you will freeze to death, and you'll die." "Right," said JT. "I don't like wearing cagoules. They are like sweat boxes. They keep the rain out, but you sweat almost as much on the inside anyway." These modern ones are pretty good. They are a bit breathable and better than they used to be with the fully plastic ones. This one is 20,000 denier." 20,000 denier? What's that? "It means 20,000 strands of thread per square centimetre, I think. The higher the denier, the more breathable the material is." "Right." "Eventually, they all get soaked though, if you're out in them all day," said Camo. "They're mainly there to keep you warm, not dry. Keep the wind out. But you need one. Wait until you get up the big ones in the lakes, and when you're out all day in the weather." "Sure," said JT, unsure. "Okay, let's get out of here," said Camo. JT went to get in the car. "Hang on," said Camo. JT waited by the open door while Camo went to the boot. He came back with a handful of plastic bags. "Do you mind?" he said. "No, of course not," said JT. "I should have brought a change of clothes, I didn't think." Camo put some plastic bags on the chair seat and on the back rest. JT got in, the plastic rustling as he sat down. Camo was at the door. "Head forward," he said. JT put his head forward and Camo put a plastic bag behind his head. "Head back," said Camo. JT put his head back, trapping the plastic bag. "Thanks," he said. There was a local man walking past the car walking his dog while this was happening. Camo went around the car to the driver's side. "Morning," he said to the dog walker. "Morning," he said back. When he was further down the street, the dog walker said to himself, "Bloody fell runners." Camo dropped him off back at home. JT waited a moment for him to drive off because he was so stiff. When Camo was on his way, he started to drag his stiff, almost locked legs home. He felt a strange sensation, happy with his achievement, but a strange sort of tired, almost like he was coming down with some illness. His body had been battered and he had burned through so much energy. His skin felt grimy and clammy. "At last, where have you been?" said his wife when he came through the door. She went to hug and kiss him. "Ugh, you're all sweaty and salty." "If you could see what I have seen," he said. "So many hills, so green and so steep. Flies, attacking sheep, biting horses, adders, standing on babies' heads, killer grass. It's a whole new world." "Babies' heads?" she said. "Don't ask. Where's Molly?" "We are going to my mother's, remember. They are already there." "How could I forget?" he said sarcastically. "Come on, it's a free roast dinner." "It's not free," he said. "We'll definitely pay for it." She gave him a look. "Come on, your bath is ready. Don't be long." He went into the bathroom and started to get undressed, his clothes sticking to him. He bent down to get his socks off and winced as his legs complained about bending. They were soaking wet and stuck to his feet. "I can't get my socks off," he shouted through to his wife. "What's that?" she shouted. "Doesn't matter," he shouted back. He eventually got them off and stepped into the bath and started to slowly lower himself down. Bits of him that were sore and chaffed hit the water. It was agony and ecstasy at the same time. "Ooh, ah, ooh, ah," he said, and sank into the bath with an ah. 20 minutes later, his wife came into the bathroom. "How long will you be?" she said. He was fast asleep, and she put her hands on her hips and smiled.